Alright everyone, welcome back to another video. So today's video, I'm going to be installing a Fortin remote start system on this 2012 Honda Civic, and it's the same for all 2012 to 2015 Civics, and with the key start. So what I'm doing today is for vehicles that use a key, not a push button start. It's not too difficult if you buy a remote start system that has a T harness. They make this one, it is called Evo One, HON2, so it includes the Honda T harness in the kit, and you can just program it to use your stock remote. For $36, I got this long range single button remote. It is just a one-way remote. If you pay more, you can get the two-way remotes. The cost difference is incredible though. So I will be putting this whole system together for about $140 to have a remote start on this vehicle. Alright, so just a disclaimer, I do a lot of these, so I have all of the required, like the flashlink updater and the subscription on the Fortin website. So if you do not have a flashlink updater, you will need to buy one. They're not too expensive. I'll have a link in the description. That way you can program this. This is a universal Evo One. You have to flash it to work with your car. Alright, so the first thing, I'm just going to go ahead and trim off this wire now. This is only left connected via the manual transmission, so I'll cut that. Take my flashlight computer out. Okay. Plug it in the computer. The USB port. Go to the Flashlink Manager app. Just connect into the device to enter our credentials. Alright, so it's checking out the module. Alright, so there's a couple ways to do this. You can do it in like advanced mode or simple mode. Say the Pro. Go to Pro mode. Make it vehicle specific. Just enter all the information here. Honda 2012 Civic, standard key. We're going to use a T harness, so we're selecting that. You have to know if your car has a built-in security system or not. I believe most of these Civics did. So then we'll click load settings. So it's recommending to update the firmware, which we'll do. So one thing to look at is, like, you have to program the bypass and the remote starter separate. So if we click load suggested options, so it will show you the options that will be changed. Door locks to on, key pass to on, foot brake output status to on, handbrake output status to on, blah blah blah, etc. C1 OEM remote status monitoring is on. D2 unlock before after lock. So what this is saying is, this, when you go onto the Fortin website, you can type in your car and it will tell you what options you need to configure for it to work correctly, and it's basically doing that here for us. Here. So simulate the OEM key fob with driver's door priority unlock on first unlocked signal, which I do want that, so I'll change that to on. It's already on. Lock the doors after remote start. I don't know if we need that. Let me look here. So it's already set to re-lock and re-arm after remote start, so we don't need to mess with that. We don't need any special functions, so we'll click Save Options. And again, we need to, after we do the bypass, we'll go to remote start. you'll hear a click. It actually is like switching modules. It's like 2 modules built into one. So it wants us to update the firmware, so we'll do that on this side. Alright, so now again we'll click load suggested options. So it's just changing a few things here. Click confirm. And we can go through here and look at these. Right. So this is just the programmable, like what the wires do. We don't want to mess with that. Tack sensitivity. This is runtime. Gas 15 minutes. It's already set on the highest setting. You change where it says confirmation sound and antenna LED. I do not want this set this way, because then if you hit the unlock button twice, it's gonna honk the horn. So I'll just do horn lock only. So you can leave that on there so it's silent, but then I only want the horn unlock, not unlock. So we don't have a siren, so we're just going to set horn only output. So a lot of this stuff your car has built in. You don't really want to change any of this stuff. Engine supervision set to TAC data link, which means you use the CAN bus network. Start attempts is 2 times. You can change that to 1 time or 3 times, so if it's not successful, I'll just leave it at 2. If I can't start the car in 2 times, something's wrong. So right here, 38, system control by OEM remote. So you can, if you just want to use the key fob, press lock 3 times to remote start it, you can select that. Enable control by OEM remote, which we do want to do. But besides that, I'm going to leave this off because I'm going to be using the aftermarket kit. So we'll just save the options. Alright, once they're saved, we are done. So go ahead and exit out of here and unplug this from the USB port. And now we're ready to install it in the car. Alright, so in the car, there's a couple things we have to do. Obviously, we need to take the steering column off. There's a Phillips head screw here. And then we need to pop this lower panel piece off. It's pretty easy to do if you just start pulling on it. It's just clipped in, and then there's wiring connected over here, depending on the year. And we'll just set that out of the way. Alright, so now this. Like I said, there's a Phillips screw / bolt thing that holds this whole plastic column on. Take that out, set it aside. Now the steering wheel, kind of have to crank it up like this. You can see these little black tabs. What you're going to want to do is kind of pop the top cover here carefully up like that. You have to do it on both sides. And that's how you remove the top part. But more importantly, that gives us access to the Phillips screw that you're going to take out on both sides. And then that allows this piece to drop down. So now you can see we have access to all the wiring that we need very easily. So just the gist of this real quick, if you want to hook up the parking lights and the horn wire is going to be down here somewhere. Parking lights, we're going to have to connect to one of those little wires up here, and then this whole ignition harness will come out and plug into the T harness here. So it's really the only 3, well, and the bypass, mobilizer bypass. That is our interface in the CAN bus network. Those are the only connections we need to make. It's actually pretty easy to do everything from right here. And we'll have to make a ground point. There's a couple ways to do that. You know, any of this body metal in here, you can run a self-tapper through on the ground wire so we can ground it. Kit comes with these two harnesses. So this first one, there's a lot of stuff you'll end up cutting off and not needing, but this is what's going to interface up front, and then this is what's going to plug in down at the remote starter. We're not going to need this brown wire. We're just going to have to ground this black wire. It does have a lug on it already, and then not yet, but when it's time, this will plug into the remote start box. Let me show you how this looks. So you just press on this little plastic tab and pull this white piece out, and then that allows this whole harness. How long it's been here, might have to just help it a little bit, but you can see it just pops right out like that. So it only plugs in one way, like that, and go ahead and push that back in. That locks that in. And then this is just like the factory connector. You want to pull that tab out. You want to plug this into here. There's that. Now the trickiest part is when we're done is getting all this stuff zip tied up out of the way, because they give you way too much wire. Now for the second harness, so all these connections down here are going to be made at the box. So we'll end up cutting all these wires off and just taping them up. But for now, I like to make sure I can get the thing working. That's what I like to do before I make all the other connections. So for our immobilizer, just plug back here, pop that out, and just plug it into the T-harness like that. Super easy. We're going to plug it back in. Okay. So I'm going to do is go ahead and make the ground. Just pull this wire up here. I'm going to put a self-tapper screw right there. There's the ground. Alright, so this is where we need to follow instructions. So you do have, like I said, I'm kind of doing this backwards. And normally you'd make all your wiring connections, like the parking lights and the horn and all that stuff. So make sure you have one key to the vehicle. And then we're going to take our main harness here. Again, I just got the ground made. We're going to press it and hold the programming button, which is this little button on the bottom here. And while I'm holding that down, I'm going to connect the harness. Okay. And the LEDs will alternate between blue, red, and yellow, and blue and red flashes. And we're going to release the button when the LED is red. Okay. So LEDs are up here. Okay. Wait till it's red. Red, okay, like that. Then it says go ahead and insert the required remaining connectors. So I'm going to grab one of my single button remotes here. for now, I'm just, like I said, we're just trying this, so I'm going to go ahead and connect this wire to the antenna. Connect it here to the unit. Connect these other wires. There's this larger harness. Then we've got these two smaller connectors here that plug in over here. So we've got all of our required connectors plugged in. It says press and release the programming button twice. The red LED will flash once and pause. And then turn the ignition to the on run position. The red LED will flash rapidly 10 times, and then the blue LED will flash rapidly. That means it is programmed. And then we're going to turn it off. So, remember that again. We're going to press this button twice. 1, 2. You can see it's going to do. So the red light is flashing rapidly. So turn the ignition to the on position. So you can see it's flashing rapidly. Now the blue light's flashing. It's programming the CAN bus. So you can see that. Again, I'm just following the instructions here. And then that's done. Now we just need to program these remotes, which there's a whole different programming sequence for that. Alright, so let's try this real quick. A good way to know is if I press it once real quick, it should lock the doors. It just did. It's good. I use this other one. Press it twice, quick. 1, 2. Just unlock that door. Press it 1, 2. Unlocks all the doors. Okay, so we know it's working. Your OEM fob obviously locks the doors. See the light flashing. Now if I press and hold, it will remote start the car. So it unlocks the doors to disarm the system. Starts the car. The doors will relock. Okay. So now when you approach the car, you can either press this twice to unlock it, or use the OEM remote. Unlock the door. It unlocks the doors. You'll put the key in and turn it forward to drive. If you step on the brake, it will shut the car down, as you can see. Alright, so that is perfect. Everything is working as it should. So now I feel comfortable in making our last two connections, and then we can run the wires for the antenna because we know everything is good now. Okay, so the parking lights already flash without making any connections, and the factory alarm continues to work fine if you have the factory alarm. So you could actually not make the two optional connections if all you wanted was just basic remote start. So I'll show you what I mean. So without making any connections, if I lock the doors, obviously it flashes the lights. Now I'm going to remote start the car. So right now, if we make the connection, the parking lights will be on, just to show you that the car is running. So if you want the parking lights to work, make that connection. Same thing, if you want the horn to confirm, make that connection. Parking lights back here, behind here. Pop this harness off. These are very, very, very tiny wires. So you need to use a razor to basically cut back the tape and expose the wire we want. Alright, so for the parking lights, we're going to take the pink wire that comes out of the harness that runs up to the bypass. This pink wire, and we're going to connect it to this gray wire in this harness. So if you look at the connector like this, it's on the bottom row, second over from the right. So there's like a brown wire, and then next to it there's like a grayish wire with some brown on it. We want to tie into that wire. I'm going to solder this wire into there. And then down here for the horn, you want to take the orange and black wire from the bypass harness, and then we want to locate the proper steering column connector. Should be this one here. And then the horn wire is orange. So if we look at the top row, there's a black one. Next to it is an orange wire. That's what we want to tie this orange and black stripe into the orange wire on here, and that'll give us horn. All right, so once you get your wiring connections made, get everything zip tied out of the way the best you can, and then we're going to fit this bottom plate on. And I'm going to locate the remote start unit here. You can see right now it's just down on the floor. But I'm going to get this in place because this is kind of like the biggest problem with these Hondas is getting this lined up. So the screw will go back in. Once you get that in, you can snap the top of the steering wheel back together. Just to drop it. So again, I'm gonna tape off each of these little wires and then kind of just get this whole harnessed, you know, get everything just kind of taped up nicely so it looks good. And I'm gonna run my antenna wire. Remember, you can cut this brown wire off. It's not needed. Alright, so you can see I've got everything zip tied up neatly, out of the way. All the wiring is out of the way. You want to make sure nothing's in the way of the, you know, the telescoping steering wheel, that it can function normally. Now I'll go ahead and button the dash up, and we'll wrap this up. Alright, you can see where I mounted the antenna there, the windshield. Just ran it down, pillar, pulled off the weather strip, snuck it into there. Last thing to do I do like to install the sticker, the warning sticker, that the car has a remote start. So just find a good place under the hood where it's not gonna, you know, be in the way. You can apply it up here or something. Looks like a good spot. Alright, so that's all there is to it. So hopefully the video was helpful. I'll have links in the description where you can buy the parts that I did. Like I said, under 140 bucks, 130 something. And we've got full long range remote start here. Alright, so that's all there is to it. Be sure to like the video if it helped you out. Subscribe. If you have a question or comment, leave it below. Until next time, we'll see you later.